Good morning, friends. Today I'm going to discuss about part two of positive psychology. Part one had already been discussed and it is available on YouTube under the name of Positive Psychology Part One, where I had discussed about the failure management as well as the education psychology. So, in this particular video presentation, I'll be discussing about the happiness as well as the positive mindset. So let us now go into the presentation. So I'm Dr. Ganesh, uh, mm, motivational speaker. I have delivered a number of talks at various institutes of national repute. So I have enormous experience. I had been working in this particular field of positive psychology for the last 4 years. Whatever the knowledge that I had gained through the number of books, through extensive literature survey, through the various media such as YouTube as well as some TED lectures, I had been able to generate and summarize some of my concepts on positive psychology, which the summary of that particular knowledge that I had gained, I would like to share to all the people. So that is my intention in presenting this particular positive psychology video. So if you are in depression, you are in the past. If you are in the anxiety, you are in future. If you are, if you want to be happy, then it is now. It is nothing but present. So this is a superb proverb that we can see. I don't know from where it came, but I could not. Give the identity of this particular proverb where it has come. But it's really a good proverb. That is, if you are in depression, you are in the past. If you are in anxiety, you are in future. If you want to be happy, that is today, in the form of present. So here, if you want to see, the word present has got two meanings, precisely. Present in the form, present in the sense that it indicates now, that is today or now, the present moment, the present second, the present hour, or something like that. Present also denotes another meaning in English, that's nothing but gift. So present is always to be considered as gift. So Gautam Buddha said, instead of conquering thousand kingdoms, you will be the real king if you conquer your inner self. So today there is a lot of emphasis on the inner engineering, okay, inner motivation, peace of mind, happiness, and all those particular things, which we'll discuss in short span of time. So I was 30 years old. This was some anonymous quote. I was 30 years old before I had an actual thought. Everything up till then was either what Buddhists call monkey mind, chatter, or the reflexive regurgitation of whatever my parents or teachers said, or whatever I saw on the news or read in the book, or heard somebody rap about hanging around the street corner. Stephen Pressfield. So here, this is a proverb written by Stephen Pressfield. So he says that whatever the information that he was, where his mind is in the sort of a disturbed or some sort of calamity in his mind or some sort of turbulence in his mind, he could attribute that particular turbulence to whatever the information. So mind cannot generate its own information. The information that you gather from the newspapers, from the TV channels, from the various books that you read, or the discussion that you have with your family members. That is the information that the mind processes. So it does not come from anywhere outside. So this information, to what extent that information is positive, that information is constructive, the discussion is some sort of an informative. That circumstances, obviously there will not be any turbulence that is coming up. But during the process of sharing the information through any of these media or channels or from the people, that circumstances, there is a possibility of getting some turbulence or some anxiety that is being building up. So life is not as serious as the mind makes it to be. That is Eckhart Tolle. It's a wonderful proverb. He is the pioneer psychologist living in Canada. He has written a lot of books and delivers lectures on various platforms. So this is again an expert. This is again taken from Eckhart Tolle book, that from the Theory of Now. So what he says is that as it is, I would say about 80 to 90% of most people's thinking is not only repetitive and useless, but because of its dysfunctional and often negative nature, much of it is also harmful. So what he says is that 80 to 90% of our thinking is repetitive and useless. And again, it is dysfunctional and often negative in nature. You should understand this particular point, that is often it is negative in nature. So there is no constructive thought of a happier process of thinking or what I can say, a comfortable way of thinking by the mind and all that. So he says that most of 80 to 90% of thinking is repetitive and useless. And again, he says that it is in the form of negative. Okay, it is in the negative feelings do really crop up, do generally build up. Okay, so it is a sort of addiction, or it is a sort of compulsive thinking. That's what he says. This kind of compulsive thinking is actually an addiction. So we have got a very limited control on this particular process of thinking. As we try to control that, the intensity of that particular thinking actually grows up. Actually, that is the situation. What generally happens. So what is that? It characterizes this particular addiction. Okay, quite simply, you no longer feel that you have the choice to stop. It seems stronger than you. So most of us face this particular situation. It gives you a false sense of pleasure that invariably turns into pain. So here, all negativity is caused by the accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. So this is a wonderful statement that is given by the author of Theory of Now, that is Eckhart Tolle. So denial of the present. So always we try to live. What he says is that we try to live in the future, or we try to live in the past, the thoughts of the past, or the thoughts of the future. So there is no enough presence. So guilt, regret, resentment, grievances, sadness, bitterness, and all forms of non-forgiveness are caused by too much past and not enough presence. Most people find it difficult to believe that state of consciousness totally free of all negativity is possible, and yet this is liberated state to which all spiritual teachings point. So the essence of any spiritual training or the teaching or self-help groups or reading some books of self-help is mainly to come out of this particular thought process, that is negative thinking, and to build up a constructive life free of this thought process. So what he says is that we either live in the past, okay, or we try to live in the future, thinking about what the future will be, in what way the future gives us some sort of advantage, or in what way the future is going to be some sort of what I can say is going to be complex. This type of thinking. Okay, so What he says is that to the ego, to the mind, the present moment hardly exists. Only past and future are considered important. This is very important. My main objective of taking this positive psychology lecture is to understand the basic functionality of the brain. Okay, why does you have it, or why does I have it? Why does everybody have this particular problem? So, this total reversal of truth accounts for the fact that in the ego mode, the mind is so dysfunctional. It is always concerned with keeping the past alive because without it, who are you? It constantly projects itself into the future to ensure its continued survival and seeks some kind of release or fulfillment there. It says one day when this or that happens, I'm going to be very happy or something like that. But it hardly exists now. At the present moment, it hardly exists now. Please remember any situation that suddenly you come across some particular problem. You are supposed to think now how you are going to act now. Then your mind is going to become blank. You are either in the past or you are in the future. At present, some situation comes up, some turns up. How you are going to deal it, your mind becomes blank. It happened to me in so many times. Times it happened to me that at one time, what happened was that a small girl in my opposite house had put her fingers in between the door, and the door is so closed in such a way that any further movement of the door in either direction would actually press her fingers. So her mother immediately rushed to me and asked her to look into her situation. So when I went there to help her, I understood that any further movement of the door in either direction is going to be create some very different, create some hard pain to her, and the result would, in fact, create a major problem for her. So, what I could do was that at that particular point of time, as my mind had gone blank, I could not generate any idea of what to do. So immediately, what I tried to do is that I asked her mother immediately to call all the people. That was an apartment where I was residing. All the people, particularly in the floor, to the particular situation with an immediate effect. So some two or three people have turned up. One person has immediately taken one sort of a wire, and immediately he put that in between the channel, and he pressed the door. He with a big rod he forced the door to move or to expand to some extent. And one lady brought the coconut oil, poured onto the girl's hand, and still my mind was not working. So I just told her, "Baby, can you please pull out your hand?" I just asked her. So with she was very what I can say was that she was very scared, and just with some little pressure she tried to pull out, and the hand came out very easily. So there was no harm that had taken place to her. Uh, at that circumstances, my mind was not working. If I'm taking any decision at that particular point of time, that would have become a major problem for the girl. So what I say is that it's always it's always a particular situation that in the present circumstances, whenever you are required to react, or you are required to answer a particular problem, then the mind is in such a way that it always thinks about the past, what are the things that you have come across, and all these particular memories and all that, what you will be doing in the future, how you are going to settle down, and all these things. But given a task, suddenly to the mind, in the present situation, the mind ceases to exist. So that is one major thing that I would like to stress over here. So we are required to keep that particular mind or make the mind to be active in the present. That is the most important thing that we require to take it up. So, and one more problem that comes with the mind is negative thinking. And because of negative thinking, again, we have got the problem of anxiety. We feel a lot of anxiety. Okay, in everyday life, this is a common phenomenon. Anxiety is a common phenomena that is being in today's generation. So this anxiety can be caused by over perfection. You wanted to do everything 100% correct. You wanted to do it with over certainty, and you wanted to do a thing with over responsibility. So, what are the tips to reduce this particular anxiety? Whenever we encounter some problem, we can lessen the influence of the problem by comparing it to a bigger problem that we had successfully come over. This actually, so we need to trick the mind. We need to trick the mind of saying that okay, this is not a big problem. Okay, we have come across a very big problem. We have come across a very big problem. This problem is a very small problem. We can easily come over this particular problem. When we had the capacity and capability and we had the experience in overcoming such type of problem, even a big problem, why can't we why can't we actually solve this particular problem? The type of a mindset is required in present day circumstances. Then why do we require that? Why do we require that? And we need to develop an avalanche of positive thinking to nullify even the smallest negative feeling. We require a huge amount of positive thinking process that has to be taken up in your mind. So how do we justify this? So I will just tell you one small example. So if you want to make the white paint to black, okay, then what you are going to do, this white paint to black, you can just mix half liter or 1 liter, a small portion of the black paint. If you mix, it becomes black. But if you want to turn the entire black paint into white, then you require so much amount, so much quantity of what I can say, what I can tell you, the white paint. So what I can tell you is that in order to come out of even a small amount of negative problem, you require a lot of positive thinking process that should be taking place. That should be taking place to you for you to overcome that particular situation. And mind you, at that particular situation, unfortunately, if you are surrounded by negative people around you, then they intensify the situation. They make your ways closed. They make your thinking process disturbed. They make your thinking process confused. So it is mandatory, it is necessary that at circumstances when you come across some particular problem, you need to have or you need to take the advice of some of the people who are having the positive mindset and who gives you the perfect advice at that particular point of time. Again, some more tips to reduce anxiety is to have the follow the 3A formula. So first one is the alter. Okay, alter in the sense that if there is anything that you can change the intensity of the problem, or if there is anything that you can modify the situation, or if there is anything that you can make the situation better, then you can do some altering in the sense that you can do some sort of small activities or bigger activities to change the complexity of the particular problem. Then, if you could not do any alter, you can some circumstances adjust. Okay, you can some circumstances you can adjust. And the other thing is that if you are unable to alter or adjust, then you have to avoid that particular problem. Okay, so the order is actually mismatched here. The first one is alter. Okay, if they are if you cannot alter some circumstances, you have to avoid. The second one comes to be avoid. If you cannot alter and if you cannot avoid, then you have to adjust to the situations and circumstances. So that is where you can reduce the stress on your particular brain, and also you can follow the 2C formula. Whereas here we have come into this world not to control or command on any things. Okay, whatever the situation or something, you need to have the flexibility, you need to have the adjustability, you need to have the compliance to cope up with different things in life, where the main intention is that if you are in the mindset of controlling or commanding somebody or some things, then ultimately when you are not able to control or command, then there is a problem of getting anxiety. So there should not be any control or command on anything. Again, the happiness index, if you are going to see, why does we feel unhappy? Why does we feel unhappy? Because we expect so much from anything that we are going to do. So what we expect and what we experience in reality as well as in virtually, whatever we think, okay, that might not happen to us. Okay, the expectation is more and the result is somewhat less. Then we get easily depressed. So this expectation is actually going to be developed from imagination, and the expectation is going to be when we are living in a society, when we see the other people with a nice car, nice bangla, and all those things, with a nice iPhone and all those things, there is some expectation that is coming. One way of developing the expectation is through imagination, and another way is through people around us, by looking to the people around us. The other way is with respect to our past. So here, what is the problem that is coming up with respect to that? Why do we face this particular depression? Okay, so why do we feel unhappy? Because there is some gap that is taking place between the expectation and the reality. So here, if you are going to see, everybody always asks if you have a career, you are married, you have children, and everything they ask you, but they don't ask you whether you are happy. Okay, so whatever the slides that I have discussed up to now concerns about the mindset. Okay, so why do we have mostly the negative thought process? How do we have to counteract that particular negative thought process and all these particular things we have discussed? Now let us discuss about one of the most important parameter of a successful life, that is the happiness. So everyone asks you, you have the good job, or what is your income, or what how much property you have gathered, and what are your financial assets, or something like that. But nobody asks you whether are you happy or not. So here we have got some local language, which had written poems which had been written some 800 years back. In that poem, I will read out the poem in the Telugu, then I'll explain it in English. So what the poet says over here is that Sirida Vachanu Vachunu, Salalikamuga Narikela Salilam Bangini, Sirida Poinu Bovunu, Karimingina Velaga Pandu Kadarasmu. So here he says that the joy or happiness, or the prosperity, or the money, or the income comes in such a way that to any person, it comes in such a way that Narikela Sarilam Bangin, in the sense that just like how the coconut water fills up on the top of the coconut tree, how the water fills gets filled up, okay, in a coconut on the tree, very height tree, how it gets filled up. In the same way, when we or when we are getting the happiness or the money or the income or whatever these things are there, it just generates in such a way that just like the water in the coconut, how it comes. Okay, nobody knows how the water is going to be generated in a coconut. It comes in that way. And Sirida Poyana Bovan, Karimingin Velagapandu. Kari means elephant. Okay. The elephant takes inside the wood apple and it throws out the shell. The wood apple is intact, it's not been broken, but we cannot see the internal. If we are breaking the particular wood apple, we don't see any substance inside. That means it is gone. So how it's gone, nobody knows. So this is a wonderful poem which had been written some 800 years back, which indicates how the things come to us and how the things leave us. Okay, so and again this was another poem that was written in 13th century by a famous poet by Srinatha. Okay, so here he says that కృష్ణవేణమ్మ గొనిపోయే నింతపలము బిలబిలాక్షులు తినపోయే దిలల పెసలు బొడ్డుపల్లెని గొడ్డేరి మోసపోతి నెట్ల చెల్లింతు సుంకము లేడు మూడు. So here we think that our older generations were very happy. They lived a very happy life. Actually, this poet um, happens to be a very versatile poet who had got a lot of patronage from the kings at that particular point of time. But this particular poem indicates that whatever the fields that he had got, all those fields were flooded by the Krishna river. So Krishna Venama means Krishna river. Bilivilakshulu tinipoye dilala pesalu. That means the birds, whatever the remaining crop was there, the birds had been taking their part. They had taken it as food. Okay, so there is nothing that was left to him to pay the sunkam, in the sense that tax to the kings. So here he said it is indicated from this particular poem. Even in the 13th century, the problems were common. Okay, the intensity of the problem, the nature of the problem might be different from this particular generation or that particular generation, but the concept of problem. Okay, so the presence of the problem, not the concept of problem. The presence of problem is always there, whether whatever the generations or centuries we have come across, or the problems will also be there in the future generations. So here, what I would like to highlight is that the problems are always there. The problems are always there. Okay, so is happiness a natural state? Happiness does not mean having all our personal needs met, feeling pleasure all the time, always feeling satisfied with life, never feeling negative emotions, pain, sadness, anger, etc. So what are the steps to the happy life? So this is one example from the famous literature work, that is Sundarakanda, where Hanuman is being taken as a role model in the decision making. So in Ramayana, the role of Hanuman is being treated as a guru, in the sense that he is taken as an example for the decision making, because when he went to bring the one particular herb from the mountain, he could not identify. He brought the whole mountain, and at circumstances, whenever he was supposed to take a decision, when he went first time to the Lanka in the search of Sita, he found a lady sleeping with all the amenities and the best food, and by looking at her, the nature of her, and the pleasantness in her face, he had decided that it was not Sita. Because Sita is in the pain of losing Rama. She would have not had any food for a number of days, any water, or she would have become weak. So this type of decision making and even the power of communication. So if anybody, generally in the management classes, they tell about this particular power of communication. So at that time, there were a number of Vanaras that had gone to different places, different directions in search of Sita, and none of them was successful. So they all returned and they were anxiously waiting for the return of Hanuman. So Hanuman finally he started his journey and he was reaching them. And from the what I can say from the sky, when he had looked into the masses, some crores of masses of his friends waiting for his news, then he communicated in such a way that he did not say Sita I had seen. Okay, so Sitanu Chuchiti, that is in Telugu. Okay, Sitanu Chuchiti means by the time he says that Sita, then some people might think that okay, Sita he had not seen. Okay, immediately they will collapse. That was the time, or that was the situation, that was the very dire situation where even he says the name of the Sita, then some people might collapse, some people might lose their life. So what he said is that seen Sita, that means Chuchiti Sita, that means oh, Chuchiti means oh, okay, no problem, he had seen Sita. So that was the way of communication that had been taking place. So while taking, when you are discussing the state of mind of the other people, other person, the the situation of the his household situation or his circumstances, you are required to take into consideration while speaking to the other person. That is the most important thing. So the way you communicate, it gets reciprocated back. And if you communicate in a pleasant manner, then obviously there is a possibility of the communication being reciprocated in the pleasant manner. So we have 2 ears, 2 eyes, and only one tongue. That means that you are required to speak less, see more, and listen more. That is the essence that I would like to communicate through this particular video lecture. That means only one tongue. You are not given 2 tongues. So speak less. Listen carefully. Listen more. 2 ears, 2 eyes, see more. That means we must listen and see more and communicate. Okay? So out of the first listen, try to listen. Here today, we are not having good listeners. We try to counter, we try to obstruct the other person before he wants to say something. First listen. Let the information come to you. Generate the information, process the information. Then you give your advice, or you deliver something, or you want to talk, you can talk. And again, the communication must be sweet, because whatever that we are emitting from our body, the sweat or the saliva or whatever the thing that we are emitting from our body is foul in nature, foul in nature. It is only your communication, the words that come out of your mouth. This was said by Professor T.T. Rangarajan. He is also called as Mahatreya. Okay, he is a psychologist and a famous public speaker. So he had given this statement in one of his lecture, okay, public speaking lecture. What he says is that you are speaking, the words that come out of your mouth should be very sweet, because it is only the sweet thing that we try to emit. Everything other than that, the sweat or saliva, whatever the things that is there, that gives a false smell. only the sweetness can be transmitted from you to the other person by means of beautiful words, pacifying words, soothing words you can deliver such that your communication should always be sweet. And again, there is a possibility that while speaking, we know whatever we know, we speak. But there is a possibility that when we listen, we really gain so much amount of knowledge. And we have to understand that some circumstances, sometimes rejection is also part of happiness because probably God might have um, reserved for you a better opportunity. Some circumstances. This was a letter sent to Professor Einstein, the famous scientist, that his application for a particular assistant professor had been rejected. But eventually, he, in fact, completed the doctorate degree. Okay, on the theory of relativity, he got better opportunities in the America. He was elevated to the highest position in his office at the university in America. Then he had got all the benefits. So it does not indicate that probably at some circumstances when you are losing an opportunity or when you are not considered or when you are rejected, it does not mean the end of the your hope. Okay, there is always some hope because hope is a better thing that we need to have for achieving success in our life. And you should also manage your friends and family. You should understand that life is not a military rule. There must be some harmony and melody in life. And again, the journey to happiness is along with your family. And if the famous book by Mark Manson emphasizes on three things that the true friends, okay, the real people that can help you in all respects are three people. The first one happens to be your mother. When you are small, when you are born, she takes care of you uh, uh, at all times. At all times, she wakes up very long hours when you are growing up, and she takes care of you. She feeds. She looks after you when you are sick and all that. Okay, so mother, there is no the alternative for the mother. The contribution of the mother for our existence is quite exemplary. The other thing is the boss, okay, and the friend. Here, why I'm saying the boss? Because most of your time in your middle years, probably from 20 to 40 or for 20 to 50 years, you are going to your job 8 hours, then you are under the influence of your boss. So the boss, if he is very good, if he is cooperative, if he is coordinating, okay, then because what we try to divide the entire day, how we divide is 8 plus 8 plus 8. That means 8 hours of work, 8 hours of relaxation, okay, no office work after the first 8 hours, okay, 10 to 8 you go to the office, okay, you do some work, you do it for earning the money, that is work. Work is only part of life, but work is not the life, you should remember that. So the next 8 hours you should stop all that work, okay, you should not bring any office work to the home because that particular 8 hours is for your relaxation, for your brain to relax, for your brain to have some sort of an entertainment, for your body to take some bath to get relaxed, okay, to have some stuff, okay, to a sort of refreshment for the brain is the next second spell, that is the next 8 hours. The first 8 hours you try to make some living or make some money for your living, the first 8 hours. The next 8 hours, it is a entertainment, it is a refreshment for your brain. Then the next 8 hours is the rest for your body to rejuvenate yourself, to activate yourself for the task that you are going to take it up, the task that you are going to take it up the next day. But here we are we in present day scenario, we have totally changed this 8 plus 8 plus 8, 8 plus 8 plus 8 schedule. That is why we are facing a lot of problems, health problems, psychological problems, stressful life, a lot of problems we are facing because we are not going according to the plan, according to the schedule. We are working more than 12 to 8, 16 hours. We are taking very limited rest. Then we are not giving any time for the mind to relax. We are not giving the rest to the particular body. We are putting up a lot of unnecessary junk information into the mind. So these are all problems are directly influencing the health parameter. So what is that? It's very important is that your friend is also a very important thing that you have to consider for your well-being. So friend is that who can help you at all circumstances, who you can share all your problems, you can get some sort of help from him, you can get some advice from him, you can get some suggestion from him. Among all these three people, it is mandatory that if you have a good boss who is like just like a shock absorber, in the sense that whatever the stress that comes from the top level, he absorbs that. He does not transmit to the lower level, and whatever the pressures he is getting from the lower level, he does not transmit to the top level. So he himself takes up the particular shock, and if he is acting like a shock absorber, if it is cooperative, if he is coordinating you, if he always praises the activity, okay, if he gives a good place in his heart for your sort of for you, if he gives some place in his heart for you, and he encourages you all the time, then that 8 hours is the most uh, is the most happiest point that you go to the office always with a good happiness feeling in you, with the amount of joy. You can go to the office, you can work to the maximum your extent, and you don't carry any of the stresses or that problems or whichever are there because of a good boss. You don't carry it to the home, your home life, your family life, your life as a father, as a parent, as a son or a daughter, whatever it is going to be successful because you don't carry any tensions from the office to the home, and you live a happy life, you get a proper sleep, the next 8 hours is also guaranteed for you. So in your middle age, it is mandatory that you select an organization or you work under some people at any circumstances. You are happy to get a good boss with all these particular qualities. Then I advise you, please don't leave the job. Those you might get some good job somewhere else with higher pay hike and all these amenities and the benefits and all that, because always you cannot guarantee that a good boss will be available to you wherever you are going to work. So here, this is the most important rule that you have to follow. That is for a happy life, the role of the mother, okay, and the friend. That is, they both are by default you are going to get them. That's not a big issue. But if you are going to get a good boss, definitely the quality of your life, the happiness in your life is going to improve enormously. Next is that the planning, and you should plan it for being happy, to become happy in your future. You should plan it now. So you should plan it when you have taken up the job. You should plan it what is the your requirement, how much money, how much amount that you require. Probably when you become old, 45 to 50, your ability of working comes down, your capabilities comes down, your capacity, your efficiency comes down. So at that circumstances, you need some extra income that is being generated from your savings. So you should plan it. Here in this particular context, I would like to tell you the how one of the actor in the Kollywood, actor Savitri had come across a situation. One day, her friend went to her house and she has seen. I read this example in her autobiography recently. So, her fellow co-heroine friend went to her house, and then she had seen all the clothes which are supposed to be in the almirah. They are they are thrown away or they are being kept at one corner of the room. Then she asked her friend, "Why do you keep clothes here?" Then she opened the almirah, and the almirah, to her great surprise, was filled completely money, full of money, a lot of money. Then actor Savitri, told her friend, "What should I do? I have got so much amount, so much money I have got. I don't have anywhere to keep. So I'm keeping it in the almirah." Then she said, "It is, my dear, it is not the place that you keep the money. You have got a lot of money. Go and buy some big building or some site or construct a house with all this particular money. That is the way that you have to invest." So that is nothing but the planning. So you have to plan financially. You have to plan about your career. You have to plan about your future. So planning, overall planning, your children's education, about you in the old days, how you are going to sustain, about your family, about your expenses, all these things you have required to plan. So if you have a good planning, then it is always guaranteed that you are going to lead a very happy life in the future. Next, you should also try to explore what are all the ways to the financial freedom. So this is a wonderful YouTube lecture by Dhaval Bhatia. So Ways to Financial Freedom by Dhaval Bhatia. You can browse that in YouTube lecture. So he says that rate, remuneration, they are the active constraints, whereas the other things are the passive. They get continuous income from the remaining five things. The first two are the changing uh, parameters. Okay, remuneration is that whatever the salary that you get, and rate is that for whatever the amount you sell, the rate that you are going to get it. Okay, so replication is that the earlier days replication in the sense that there used to be porous, what I can say, uh, I don't remember the name of that particular carbon paper. They used to say it as carbon paper. It used to be blue in color. So there used to be people who also, they say it as a true copy. There was no Xerox at that particular time. I was telling about some 30 years, 35 years back during my sixth or fifth standard. I found near the offices, the various revenue offices found, I had found out that there were people who used to write the true copy or the Xerox copy by means of this particular carbon paper. So that was called as replication. So they used to earn money by that particular process. So that was one method of earning money. Rent is one particular this thing. Royalty, if you write books and publish books, you get the royalty. Then if you the copyrights, okay, by that also you get some royalty. Then the returns when you invest in stock market or mutual funds or in the real estate, you get some returns. So so you should always try to explore the probabilities of how your money is going to be exponentially, how your money is going to be exponentially increased. I'm not saying put the money, uh, put the money or make it as 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. No, 3 into 3. 9 exponential, 3 square. Your money should grow in such an investment. You have to put it in such a place or such a way. You have to cleverly invest your money in such a way that your money grows exponentially. So this exponential, in which way your money grows, you have to do the homework. And this planning that you are going to do to improve your financial freedom definitely brings the happiness for you in your future. So, and again, it is always important to upgrade and upgrade. So, you should see this particular example that a person who does not want to upgrade is like a laptop without any USB or LAN port or anything. That means he cannot do anything. He cannot gather information. He cannot send information. He cannot update. He cannot upgrade. So there should be always, you should be in tune with the technology. You should be in tune to update your priorities. You should be in tune to upgrade your career goals. You should be in tune to upgrade your income level. You should be in tune to upgrade your social status. For that, it is always mandatory that you work in a team, you have good friends where you can take advices from them in all respects. Then you are going to, okay, be successful uh, in your future life. And always, please, for your satisfaction, if you want to be the most happiest person, always compare yourself how far you have come for the last 5 years. Where are you 5 years back? How far you have come? What is the success that you have achieved? Though the success might be a little or comparatively more or very big, it's a different issue. But there will be some improvement that you can always visualize. But if you compare, go on comparing with the different other people, then there is no satisfaction to your life. So the happiness is having the contentment, having the self-satisfaction. That is nothing but happiness. Whatever you have, whatever you gained, whatever you have achieved, that is happiness. And again, you should not be rigid in decision making because if you go to the school in the morning bell is very loud and you feel disturbed in the morning. Oh, again, we are going to start the classes. We are going to sit in the classes. You have to listen to the bore lectures. You have to sit for a long time. The same bell which was disturbing in the morning, the same bell happens to be very melodious, very sweet in the evening when you are going back to home. It is the same bell, but the perspective has changed. Similarly, things will change. Today will not be the same as tomorrow. Tomorrow will not be the same as day after tomorrow. Things will change. Good things will happen, and you will be the best, happiest, and successful person in your life. And for that, you require a calm mind, a beautiful mind, which is the best world's best microprocessor. For its effective functioning, you should always refresh, recharge, and regain with positive people around you. And with a positive mindset, you can achieve the goals that will help you to gain to prosperity and a happy and joyful life in your future. Thank you very much. If you like my video, I request you to kindly subscribe my channel and again uh, press the like button and please send your comments, suggestions or advices in the comment section given below. Thank you very much.